Shalom Yashrala Yahawah, brother Malak, back with the biblical breakdown. I'm a man of many gifts and talents, but it's nothing like the gift of prophecy and the gift of prophesying. And I want to get into Baruch chapter 4 specifically, because this is a amazing prophecy, amazing book, chapter, and it gives hope, and it builds the faith for you Israelites, believers. Now, you heathen nations, you Gentile nations, you heathen nations, you will be in the kingdom, practicing the laws and statutes and commandments. But that's after that 1,000 years of get back that you nations will go through. So eventually, everybody will be in the kingdom of heaven, and everybody will be following these laws, statutes, and commandments. But as far as America goes, Babylon the Great goes right now, those chariots are called the chariots of Israel. Swing low, sweet chariot coming forth to carry me home. So when my teachers or my apostles, or really my elders, teachers, when they say that the chariots are only for Israel, the chariots pick up Israelites, then I don't know if that's really what I got to do, honestly. And I'll say that honestly, Yahawah. I got to do a little bit more studying as far as figuring out, will there be any heathen, ethnic heathen, or ethnic Gentiles that's going to get, and I believe, my spirit says no. So let me say that. My spirit says no, but I would like to do more digging and researching, because that's what I am, man. I'm, study to show thyself approved, rightfully dividing the word, biblical scholar, biblical prophet, spiritual prophet, Israelite prophet. I mean, that's what we are. We for sure didn't give ourselves this lot, this calling on our lives. Because like I said, 13, 14, 15 years ago, I definitely didn't have this in mind. I had other ventures, other desires, other things that I wanted to do in this so-called world. So this is definitely a calling of Yahawah B'Hashem Yahawahshaphat. Couldn't tell me 15 years ago that I'll be breaking down biblical prophecy. Not only breaking it down, but understanding biblical prophecy, understanding these prophecies. Matching everything up with secular history, matching everything up with current history. Couldn't tell me this 15, 16 years ago. So everything is of Yahawah B'Hashem Yahawahshaphat. Everything is of Yahawah. There's a saying, I believe, that's in the world. Tell God, Yahawah really, tell God what you're going to do and watch him laugh. I believe that's a saying in the world. Tell God what you want to do or what you're going to do and watch him laugh. And the whole gist of the quote is that you're going to do what Yahawah wants you to do. No matter how you feel, no matter what you think you got planned, you're going to always do the plan of Yahawah, or who they call God. It's just that simple. But bringing it back home, Baruch chapter 4. Oh, no, before I get to Baruch 4, and get back to where I was at as far as the chariots. So the chariots are called the chariots of Israel, the UFOs, the spaceships that's mentioned all throughout the scriptures. They're called the chariots of Israel, and they only pick up Israelites. From all of the accounts that I have read with Enoch, with Elijah, with Yahawahshaphat, Peter, and I believe that was that Peter and Matthew on the mountain, and the chariot picked up, according to Luke 9:34, it picked up Yahawahshaphat, Peter, and Matthew, I believe. So, these are Israelites: Elijah, Enoch, Elijah, Yahawahshaphat, Peter, Matthew, when they was on that mountain. So, as far as you heathens, you Gentiles that's here in America, that's here in Babylon, I don't know if you're going to get picked up by the chariots. I don't know. I don't know if you Gentiles are going to get picked up by the chariots, because that's how the deliverance is going to happen. That's how the salvation, the deliverance is going to happen here in America. Those them ICBM missiles, ICBM intercontinental ballistic missiles, those nukes are going to come, and in a twinkling of a second, the elect gets caught up, taken up. So these, I believe, these Gentiles, these heathens, that's called by Yahweh name. I believe these heathens, these Gentiles, that's called by Yahweh's name is, according to Amos 9:11 and 12. I believe these Gentiles are from other regions of the world. I believe they're from other regions of the world. Me speaking as a mortal, but not just any mortal. Me speaking as a mortal, but not just any mortal. I believe these other Gentiles are from the other lands. Because if I'm going by the not only just, the apostles, the elders, but just the biblical accounts, these chariots, they swoop down and they pick up Israelites. Enoch, Elijah, Yahawahshaphat, Peter, Matthew, when they was in that mountain and whatnot. So I don't know. So those Gentiles or those heathens that's called by Yahweh's name in Amos 9:11 and 12, which is future eschatology, which is future prophecy. These got to be these ethnic Gentiles or heathens from the other regions of the world. Me speaking as a mortal, but not just any mortal. And I say that because, you have, this discrepancy between, the Israelites that say, salvation is for the Israelites, salvation is for everybody, salvation is for everybody, salvation is for the Israelites. But we know salvation, as far as America goes, Babylon goes, the methods of salvation is going to be with the chariots. The chariots is going to, the elect is going to get caught up. So when they say salvation is for everybody, it doesn't fit prophecy. But that's a whole nother lesson, and I'll probably go into that once I dig over again. Because believe me, I have dug multiple times on that. And salvation is for the Israelites, according to Matthew 1:21, Acts 13:23, Acts 5:31-30, and a plethora of many more scrolls. But as far as Amos 9:11 and 12 go, where it speaks of, and I know I'm saying this over and over, but it's worth it. What's better than the word? What's better than the spiritual things? Because the spiritual things are eternal. The fleshly, earthly things are temporary. So as far as these heathens that's called by Yahweh's name, I believe these are other heathens, other Gentiles, and other regions that's going to be taken according to Isaiah 14:1-2. It's going to be taken. Yeah. That's what I believe that. I solely believe those are, the heathens that's called by his name. And it's not saying like called by his name like he's, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think he's, when it says called by his name, I don't really think that it means like he's like honoring them. I remember putting that in the chat, and the chat said that that's more so like these are the heathen that's going to just be rounded up. It's going to be, gathered up, and they're going to fulfill. They're going to fulfill Isaiah 14, 1 through 2. They're going to fulfill Isaiah 60. They're going to fulfill Isaiah 49. These. So that's what it is. But let's get to the main topic, which is Baruch 4. It says, this is the book of the commandment of Yahweh. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. It says, turn thee, O Jacob, and take heed of it. It says, walk in the presence of the light thereof, that you may be illuminated. And what is that? That is the holy laws of this Bible. It says, give not thy honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto to a strange nation. Look at that. Look at that. It says, give not your honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto thee, to a strange nation. The strange nations are considered the heathen. It says, O Israel, happy are we, for the things that are pleasing to Yahweh are made known unto us, and the Israelites. It says, be of good cheer, my people, the memorial of Yasharallah of Israel. It says, and here's the point that I want to address within this chapter. I'm telling you, man, you can be doing nothing, and it don't be no noises. It don't be no noises. It don't be no distraction. But the minute you open up the books and blow the dust off the books and tap into the spirit world and tap into the real important things, you hear all the distractions and noises and everything. But carrying on, Baruch 4:6, it says, you were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved Yahweh to wrath. You were delivered unto the enemies. It says, for you provoke him that made you by sacrificing unto devils. So this is what our forefathers and foremothers were doing, and not to Yahweh. It says, you have forgotten the everlasting God, which is Yahweh, and the Lashawan Kodash, the tetragrammaton Yahweh. It says, that brought you up, and you have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. It says, for when she saw the wrath of Yahweh coming upon you, she said, hearken, O ye that dwell upon Zion, Yahweh have brought up me great mourning. It says, for I saw the captivity of my sons and daughters, which Yahweh has brought upon them. With joy did I nourish them, but sent them away with weeping and mourning. Let no man rejoice over me, a widow, and forsake of many, who for the sins of my children am left desolate, because they departed from the law of Yahweh. It says, they knew not his statutes, nor walked in his ways of his commandments, nor trod or rode in the paths of discipline and his righteousness. It says, let them that dwell about Zion come and remember ye the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting has brought upon them. For he hath brought a nation upon them from far, a shameless nation of a strange language, who neither reverence the old nor pity the young. These have carried away the dear beloved children of the widow, and left her that was alone, desolate with daughters. And that's Jerusalem, Israel, and that's a metaphoric, parabolic way that is being put. It says, but what can I help you? It says, for Yahawah that brought these plagues upon you will deliver you from the hands of your enemies. It says, go your way, O my children, go your way, for I am left desolate. And that's Jerusalem, Israel, saying, go your way, O my children, which is the Israelites, for I am left desolate. Yeah, you have these heathens in our land, defiling our land. It says, be of good cheer, O my children, the Israelites, cry unto Yahawah, and he shall deliver you from the power and hand of the enemies. And this is all of those heathen nations, according to Psalms 83, 1 through 6. And not just any of these heathens. It's going more into like the powers that be, that Yahawah has ordained. It says, like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they see shortly your salvation from Yahawah, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness and everlasting. And here's the point. My children, the Israelites, the 12 tribes, we blacks, Haitians, Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Mexicans, Brazilians, and you Israelites that scattered through the four corners. It says, my children, suffer patiently the wrath that has come upon you from Yahawah. For thy enemy, these heathens, this is why the valley of Yahawahshaphat, this is why the valley of decision is going to happen and is happening. It says, for thy enemies have persecuted you. Mass incarceration, police brutality, redlining, gentrification, slavery, segregation, even though segregation was a great thing. Lies, deception, turning Yahawahshai to Jesus, turning Yahawahshai to a pale face. First Maccabees 3:48. All of this. It says, for thy enemies have persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction, and shalt tread upon his neck. And that goes into Psalms 149. You know what? I'll go into that and end it with that. Psalms 149. Yeah, man, these nations got to pay for what they did. These heathen nations got to pay for what they did. Psalms 149. Like it says, they went over and beyond, remember? They went over and beyond. They went over and beyond. Psalms 149, 7 through 9. We're starting at 6. It says, let the high praises of Yahawah be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen, all those nations in Psalms 83, all those nations in Revelations 2:9, Revelations 3:9, all those nations in Joel chapter 3, the valley of Yahawahshaphat, the valley of decision. It says Psalms 149:7, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishment upon the people, to bind their kings, those Rothschilds, those Rockefellers, those Oppenheimers, those DuPonts, those Bushes, Clintons, and even to the Trumps. Even to the Trumps. And I like Trump. I see a little bit of myself in Trump. But even to the Trumps, man. And I believe he knows the truth too, man. I believe he knows the truth. And Yahweh has picked him. Yahweh has definitely picked him, either to bring the either to bring these either to bring this place to more destruction, or to destroy this place, which is Babylon. Babylon, Babylon, Babylon. But I used to watch Celebrity Apprentice. I used to watch the show. And I used to watch the show, but that's neither here or there. But back to prophecy. It says Psalms 149 can't stop prophecy. No mortal can stop prophecy. But Yahweh has definitely picked him to either push this place to more destruction, or to push this place to total destruction. So when Donald Trump say God has chosen him, Yahweh has chosen him, he's not lying, because it tells you that Yahweh picks the kings and the rulers and whatnot. But it still doesn't stop them from getting judgment. Still doesn't stop them from prophecy. As you can see what happened to Rome, as you can see what happened to Greece, as you can see what happened to Egypt and the Pharaoh, as you can see what happened to Babylon and King Nebuchadnezzar, as you can see what happens to all those that go against Yahweh and his people. Total destruction. Psalms 149, 7-9, it says, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgments written. This honor have all the Israelites, the elect, the saints. Praise ye Yahweh Bahashem Yahawahshaphat. No mortal can stop prophecy. The valley of decision, the valley of Yahawahshaphat, World War III, these riots, these protests, the sedition among men, famines, pestilence, swords. All of this stuff is judgment, 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 judgment. And America is Babylon. And with that, I'm going to say, call Halam La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahawahshai, Bahashem Rakak Kadash, Barakata Yahweh.